Welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating stunning vacation and corporate rental spaces. Join us as we unveil the secrets to boosting revenue and elevating guest experiences through high-quality design and luxurious amenities. Whether you're a seasoned property investor or just starting out, on this podcast, we aim to provide you with the tools and insights you need to build your own five-star rental empire. Welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast. I am your host, Brianna Williams. I'm so excited to be kicking off Season 2 with you guys. Season 1 was great. There were a lot of learning experiences on camera, off camera, just everything that comes with starting a new podcast. But I had so much fun, and I think I was able to bring on a lot of guests that were able to give you a lot of good tips and tricks, and we still have plenty more of that up our sleeves. So we have some incredible guests lined up for Season 2. We have market-specific experts. We have STR real estate agents that are going to show us how to find our STR and MTR properties. We have other designers that are coming in to give us lots of tips and tricks. Installers, muralists, you name it. We've got a good lineup, I'm hoping, here for you in Season 2. I really hope that you're able to take a lot of good tips and tricks away with you and put them into effect while you're designing your own properties. So I thought it would be a really great way to kickstart Season 2 by bringing you along on a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at one of my current design projects with Mumford Designs. So for those of you that don't know, I am the owner and principal designer of Mumford Designs. We are a boutique, investor-friendly residential design firm here in Southern California. We operate all over Southern California, from the Los Angeles markets to the Orange County beaches to the Inland Empire Mountains, Palm Springs, San Diego, you name it. We've had an opportunity to touch so many properties here in our little neck of the woods. And so recently I was brought in to help with the renovation and redesign of an existing short-term rental in San Diego, California. Through this process, we started, of course, going through the market research and just the design and all of the things. And I just thought it would be great to share with you guys each of the phases and a little behind the scenes of how we do what we do and how we get it done. So with the permission of the property owner, I'm going to bring you guys along through just a couple of episodes that will walk you through the different phases of a design project and setting up a property for those of you that have never done it before, and just allow you to take from it what you will. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the different phases of a design project. So whether you're starting from scratch on a brand new property, or whether this is an existing STR or MTR that we're looking to remodel and elevate a little bit so that maybe you can reach a higher revenue or whatever, just changing your goals, whatever the case may be, we always want to start with market research. We need to know that the decisions that we make in subsequent phases of the design project have some backing or have some proof behind them. So we're going to run comps on several different websites using all of the OTAs, AirDNA, just a little bit of everything, and even just Googling the area in general to know who's coming to our property, what are their pain points, how do we alleviate those pain points, what is the bar that is being set for design and amenities by the competition in our market. Where are there opportunities where we can maybe come in and take it up a step or up a notch, do it just a little bit better than our competition is doing to provide a better guest experience for our future guests. So that's phase 1. Phase 2 is the design itself. So this starts with something that we call a conceptual design and moves into an actual technical design portion. Conceptual design is where we're just starting to get ideas. Maybe you're creating a Pinterest board for your property and you just want to start there by getting those ideas. Maybe you're saving your favorites lists on Wayfair or Amazon or Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel, whatever the case may be. This is where you're getting all of those initial concepts of what you want your property to look like. This is, of course, going to be advised by whoever it is that we anticipate is coming in, which we will learn through that initial phase of the market research. So beyond that, we're going to move into the technical portion of the design. So the technical portion is like once we have those parameters in place of, who's coming into the place, how we're going to ultimately give them the best guest experience we can, we're going to start to choose our furniture and make sure that it's, goes along with the design, the theme, the decor that you're already choosing for your property. You've already identified that your ideal guest is attracted to this style, right? Because that's what's going to make marketing a little bit easier. So once you have that design complete, you've selected everything, you move into what we call phase 3, which is order management and installation. So now that we have a list of everything that we need to purchase, we know it's all going to fit. We know that it's within budget. We know it all coordinates, and we should at this point know whether it's in stock or not, because of course if it's not in stock, and I should say if you need to move a little, I recommend moving a little bit quickly for this phase, because if you do pick something and then you wait 4 months to place the order, inventory levels are going to change, pricing is going to change, your budget list needs to get updated, and there's just a variety of different factors. So if you can move a little bit faster on this end, if you're in that position, then that is the better option. But once we know exactly what we're going to order, we start phase 3 where we're actually beginning to place orders, get all of those orders placed. We want to know who's going to receive them, where they're going to be received. If you're using a professional warehouse to do the receiving, or if you're sending them to your primary residence, if you're going to deliver them to the property itself, are you sending them to a storage unit where they're going to be received? All of those things we want to really think through. Are you doing the installation? Are you hiring to do the installation? Then, of course, tracking those deliveries. And once everything comes in, now coordinating that installation. And, in that phase, a great opportunity is to kind of sandwich in the construction phase. If you have any construction that needs to be done on your property, get that done while you're waiting on those orders to start filling in. Sometimes that can take 2 to 6 weeks, just depending on what you're ordering. So, and also what your timeline looks like. So it's a great opportunity to get your handyman or your contractors in there and start doing those little things around the property that we all know needs to be done. So once everything's delivered and we get those finishing touches, we can kind of come in and start hanging the curtains, hanging the artwork, installing the window treatments, whatever the case may be, and just put those finishing touches on. And then you're going to bring in your photographer, get your really good photos, stage them just the way you want, help your guests see themselves in the property, see themselves making memories by almost creating that memory for them, and then photographing it, and then having it live in your listing. So that's a really good marketing tip. So that's the final phase. Those are the 3 phases that I really want to dive into with you guys. So all in this one project, you can kind of start to see the behind the scenes look of how we started, how we formulated our plan, how we executed the plan. And then we'll do a follow-up in a few months just to see how the property is doing once it gets launched. So this property in particular is going to be going under new management, as the property owner was looking to take a step back from her STR, get a little bit more hands-off, and bring in a local STR MTR management company. So one of the reasons why, they're wanting to redesign this property is to make up the difference. It was an existing property, it was doing pretty well, but now they're paying somebody to manage. They want to make up that difference. So, essentially let it pay for itself, the management side of things. So we're really coming in and elevating it just a little bit. So that, of course, that property management company is going to come in. They're going to do their own pricing strategy and everything. So we'll be able to have them on and discuss how all of that changes after the redesign of the property and relaunch. So overall, we want to see how it impacts this owner's revenue and everything. So with all of that, that's like a brief little tiny bit about really what I want to dive into with everyone. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and let's take a close look at what we did for phase 1 of our project. So in phase 1, we always start with comps. So actually, I take that back. We do need to do comps, but sometimes what I do before I do comps is I just Google. So for this property in particular, we're looking at San Diego, California. Now, San Diego is a county, it's not just a city. We are in the city of San Diego, which is in the county of San Diego, but there's so many different areas of the city, and they each have their own flavor, they each have their own taste, they each bring their own types of guests for a variety of different reasons. So we wanted to look at this pocket of San Diego. Who is it bringing to us? So as you can see, there were a couple of slides up for you from our actual market analysis. So as you can see from some of these slides, we started looking into really not only who was already coming to this property because it was an existing STR. So we already knew who she was capturing, but also who we could potentially start to bring into this property. Because it was priced a little lower than what we anticipate pricing it moving forward, we know not everybody that was staying previously is going to be able to stay with us now just because we are elevating it and it is going into a higher price bracket. So a lot of times she was seeing a lot of military personnel. There is a military base nearby, so graduations and things like that, family would come out and stay to attend to the graduations and different ceremonies that they were holding. And she already was seeing a lot of vacationers, a lot of multi-generational families with kids. She was not pet friendly prior to this. The property just was not set up in a way to be pet friendly, but she was seeing vacationers with, maybe grandparents, their kids, and then their grandkids, and so on and so forth. So we know what we can sleep in the property. It actually set up our parameters in terms of our market research a little bit easier, and we anticipate moving forward, because of the property manager and their connections and just how they run their business, they know that they're going to also be able to get some midterm rental guests in this property. So it is going to be shifting into more of a hybrid strategy. So we may see some construction crews in this area. We will be seeing some corporate housing in this area, and we will also be seeing some insurance relocations. We do get remote workers here as well. This property is actually a 3-unit property. So the specific unit that we are redesigning is the larger of the 3 units, which is on the primary floor. But the second floor also has 2 additional units, one of which runs as a midterm rental and one of which runs as a long-term rental. So because that second floor unit was running as a midterm rental, we kind of already had an idea of the types of people that were coming in for midterm. The biggest difference is that our primary floor unit that we are currently redesigning can sleep up to 10 guests, while the upstairs unit sleeps up to 4 guests. So it's just a 1-bed upstairs and we have a 3-bed downstairs. So there is a slight difference there in the types of guests that we're seeing. So when we're doing market research, we want to dig into maybe the top 3 what I call the primary, secondary, and tertiary ideal guest avatars for our space. I know not everybody loves the term ideal guest avatar, but it's the easiest thing to call them, to be honest with you. It's just what I've always said. So I do apologize if you don't love that particular term, but that's what we're going to call it for the sake of this episode. So we want to dig into the top 3 types of guests that we're going to see throughout the next, couple of years staying at this property, so that we can start to strategize and determine what we need to incorporate in the design. So we dig into their demographics, we dig into their psychographics. From this slide, you can see that we are anticipating pretty much people from anywhere from like 30 to 60 years of age. So it's a little bit of a wide range there. And the reason being is because this is a hybrid property. So yes, we're going to see some STR guests that might be younger and might be younger families, but we're also going to see some MTR guests like corporate housing who are going to be a little bit older. So we want to when we're designing the property, we want to think through how are we going to attract people who are in their 30s, but who are also in their 50s. So we want to make sure that we keep that in the back of our mind whenever we're making any design decisions. So not only do we want to look at those demographics, are there kids? How much are they making? So like how much can they afford to pay a night? That kind of determines that price bracket that we're in. Are we in the 80th percentile, 90th percentile, or is this property really we're just trying to capture kind of like we want to stay full and we're okay with having a lower nightly rate, so we're going to drop it down a little bit. And maybe our guests have a lower annual income or whatever the case may be. That's all going to factor in what should our budget be, how are we going to design, how are we going to allocate the budget for that design, etc. So that's why we look into the demographics. Now let's talk about psychographics. So we want to know what's the motivation to book, when they're booking, what are some of the frustrations that they're seeing when they're scrolling through 30, 40 listings. When they stay with us, once they've booked and they're staying with us, what are some pain points that these guests may come up with? Maybe Maybe you can go through some of the reviews on other listings that are in the market. You can go through the reviews. If there's any negative reviews, you can pull from that and determine their pain points in that way. Like, oh, I came with my dog, but my dog got out because the gate wasn't secure, or whatever the case may be. Or, oh my gosh, somebody was in our backyard while we were staying there because the gate wasn't secure. If that's an issue that you see coming up in reviews in your market, specifically in your, closer area around your property, then those are things that we can start to get ahead of, prevent it at our property by making sure that we have extra security measures. And that kind of leads us into that amenities that alleviate pain points. So for instance, let's look at the vacationers, right? We know that these are going to be, families, not sure why it says no kids, but yes, we anticipate seeing plenty of kids. We did identify that pet friendly was something that was definitely going to help in this market. We are very close to Dog Beach, so it's literally a beach that you could bring your dogs on, like a big dog park, but a beach. And then because we're close to that, we are getting people in our market that are going to be coming with their pets, traveling with their pets. It's a really great opportunity just for marketing too, to point people towards that beach and let them know this is a unique experience that you can bring your pet to. So we're walking through their motivation to book. They're looking to make family memories. They're on vacation. What is their frustration during their booking? If they're coming with their family and they're coming with their pets, then they want to make sure that there's a space that will entertain their kids, entertain their pets, that will keep their pets and their kids and their family safe. And then, of course, they want it in a convenient location close to attractions and amenities. If you're not in a location, we can't change that about our property, right? If we're not in a location that's close to attractions and amenities, then we need to bring those attractions and amenities closer. For instance, if you don't have a coffee shop nearby, find a local coffee shop that maybe is a couple miles away, but you can, offer their coffee, or you can bring in danishes or, something along those lines, just to kind of help the guests and make sure that you create something that's a little bit special. It also pulls them into local culture, which guests really appreciate. So some of the pain points during their stay. So many of them may be struggling to travel with all the things, right? You're coming with kids, but you're flying across the country. How do I bring a pack and play and a high chair and all the things? So we're going to provide those items for them and photograph them as proof to show that we are a family-friendly place. We're going to, in terms of their pet, we're going to have things like doggy bags, a leash, a dog bed, or specific areas that are set up to house that pet and make their stay really comfortable as well. So we want to make sure that we're creating those amenities and factoring those in, making them top priority, because this is how we're going to market the property. So when we're thinking through how we are going to market the property, right, most vacationers are going to book on Vrbo or Airbnb, and we know those 5 to 10 photos are the most important in capturing the potential guests, attention. So we really want to think through those first 5 to 10 photos. So in this case, we're identifying that our ideal guest is really looking for something that's family friendly and pet friendly. So number one, we're going to have a killer shot of whatever space is going to draw that family in and be the place for them to hang out. In this property, we've decided to make their backyard a fully fenced backyard and really bring in some amenities that they didn't previously have to make that the space where they can really hang out. They can barbecue, they can sit around the fire. We're going to bring in a hot tub to make them, just to give them that option as well. And, we're not far away. We're not walking distance to the beach. We're not far away from the beach. So we're going to add an outdoor shower for convenience. It also comes in convenient because of that hot tub, and then just something that's a really quick and easy way to rinse off the dogs and things of that nature. They already have a shed that is full of the coolest things like boogie boards and water toys, sand pails, you name it. They already have all of these cool things. So we're going to set them up and stage them on the sand at the beach for just really great photos. So we're going to start thinking through these amenities that we're providing, and we want to make sure we're including them in the first 5 to 10 photos. This tells me that a lot of our budget needs to get allocated towards that backyard, because it's going to be one of the primary focuses for our photographer to come in and hit. So when we're allocating budget, we know that we need to spend time there. We also know that it's important to give families that space that they can hang out in inside. So While our kitchen is small, we are stocking it with all of the things that a large family can come in and, make their own dinners, a large crock pot, big pots and pans to make large family meals, plenty of dishware, glassware, silverware to really make it comfortable and convenient for them to use throughout their stay. And then all of the little things that are going to entertain the kids. So we have a kind of cool kids room that we're setting up that has it used to have a bunk bed. Bunk beds aren't the easiest in terms of like getting our cleaners in there, cleaning it thoroughly, etc. So what we're doing is we're shifting to a full-size day bed with a trundle so that we can still sleep the same number of people, but it's a little bit more convenient and easier on the cleaner side of things. And then we already had, this owner had everything for kids that you can imagine, like books and DVDs even. So she has DVD players and all these really cool DVDs. Like the collection is pretty big. And so we're keeping that in there because it's unique and it's just a memorable experience. It's something that her previous guests mentioned time and time again. So we're not taking anything away that guests were loving. We are keeping it. Some of the toys are like vintage toys or like vintage video games that are really cool, plug and play games, even vintage dolls. And they're so close to things like SeaWorld and obviously the beach and all these other amenities, but kids wouldn't want to leave this house. They wanted to stay and play because there are so many new things that they had never seen or experienced before. So we made sure that we're keeping all of those things and we're just storing them in a nicer way so that in photos it looks fresh, it looks clean, and of course we'll still photograph the amenities, but they'll be tucked away in a closet or something along those lines. So once we kind of identify who's coming into the space, we know what we have and we kind of know what we want, we need to start going through and looking at some of these properties. So what we're doing is we quite simply go into wherever our guests plan to book. For those vacationers, they're booking Airbnb, they're booking Vrbo, we're even maybe Googling furnished rentals or vacation rentals in Point Loma, San Diego. This is probably the nearest neighborhood that most people would know of. So we're going in and we're looking for these things. We know we sleep 10, so we're going to put in a guest count of 10. And I like to set my search out just a couple of months because, of course, anybody that's getting booked right now, and we really want to see data from the places that are actually getting booked. So anybody that's getting booked right now, they're not going to populate when we search because they're booked. So this is where AirDNA can kind of come into play. We all have heard, good and bad data from AirDNA. Like we know these things both exist, and we kind of have to take our data from AirDNA with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? It's not like 100% reliable, but it is going to just give us some information. So we can pull up the map and we can sometimes see properties on the AirDNA list that we do not see when we search Airbnb or Vrbo, maybe because they're booked out, maybe because the algorithm is just not showing it to us. It could be a variety of different reasons, but so we want to make sure we're opening up and looking at as many options as possible to really get a good idea of the competition that's out there. Because at the end of the day, when your guest is looking to come to your property and they type in the city, these are the other listings that are going to populate in their search, and they're going to be scrolling through their photos and yours. So we want to know what we need to hit to make sure that we stand up to par and maybe even be a little bit better than those competitors. So not only just the first photo, what are the most common first photos that seem to be working and the property is getting booked? Is it living rooms? Is it bedrooms? Is it backyard spaces? Here in San Diego, definitely going to be outdoor spaces because it's the weather is, generally speaking, relatively decent. It's not the best weather in Southern California because we are so close to the coast. It kind of tends to be a little bit foggy sometimes, and it never really gets too hot. But that's something that a lot of people are actually attracted to. So outdoor spaces are important, and we want to just walk through some of these comps, open them up. Here's the thing. Sometimes you look at a property and you go, whew, this is a killer property. I love everything about it. It has the greatest design. Look at that wallpaper. Look at that mural, whatever the case may be. But when you open it and you look at their calendar, I just like to look at the calendar first because I don't want to get too excited about a potential comp, seeing what their what they're charging nightly, and I get really excited, and then I open up their calendar and it is just open for months. They don't have a single booking, in the next 3 months. That's not the competition that we want to look to. We're not setting our business up based off of a competitor who is just not succeeding. We want to find the competitors who are succeeding, who are doing it really well. We're not necessarily looking for the highest nightly rate. What we're looking for is the best overall value for the guest, because we do want our guests to be happy and give us those good reviews. So we open this up, we look at the calendar, we determine, yes, these are getting bookings. They're 50% plus, and just keep in mind if it's slow season or peak season, where in the search parameters, right? So for instance, in San Diego, when we did this, we were looking in November, I want to say. So when we're looking at these, we are kind of in slow season and kind of like getting further and further into slow season. It picks up a little bit in December, but really the winter months, it's not where it's at in this particular market. We're really spring and summer and maybe the beginning of fall. So I tried to look at both during the slow season, who's still getting bookings, who's still doing well. And a lot of it is the people who are shifting to that hybrid strategy. And then in the peak season, was anybody already getting bookings 6 months ahead of time? Who are those properties? What are they doing? How does their pricing strategy look? And that helps us really determine and get an idea of how much are we going to be able to charge for this property if we do a bit of a redesign, if we elevate things just a little bit. How much do we need to elevate it in order to reach that price point? Those are the things that we're looking at during this market research phase. And then lastly, because this property we know is going to operate as a hybrid, we do want to look at places like Furnished Finder, Zillow, corporate housing by owner, just different websites, anything that we can really get into to determine if there's a need for it first and foremost. Are other properties getting booked for 1 to 3 months at a time or more? And who is getting booked if they are? What are they doing that's attracting that type of guest? So we're looking at those kinds of things. I like to make note of these properties so that we could go back and check them during peak season or slow season, whatever's the opposite of what you're currently searching, so that we can kind of see how their listings change. Do they change their verbiage? Are they using different keywords? How did their pricing change? And that kind of gives us a little bit of insight and information as well, just in running the properties. So for this particular property, we were really able to see kind of anything from like $5,500 to $7,500 a month. And they were getting bookings as midterm rentals, and they were getting stays. In fact, the midterm rentals seemed to be nicer in their design than some of the short-term rentals that were offered in the area, which tells me that it is a good opportunity for them as an MTR, which sometimes can be a little bit easier to just manage and turn over and all of the things. To each their own. There's pros and cons of both sides, but then to be able to, in this instance, fill in any of those gaps in that midterm rental calendar, fill in those gaps with STR stays. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? So that you have less vacancy, a little bit less headaches, but then you're maximizing your revenue. And so that's what we did with this property. So you can see here a few of the more MTR kind of purposed properties that we were kind of seeing across our searches. Now, another tip when you're looking through Airbnb, if you are considering the hybrid strategy and you know that you're going to be looking for midterm as well, is going into the reviews of any specific listing on Airbnb and just click through those reviews, scroll through those reviews, and you'll see it'll say things like stayed a week or long stay or stayed with kids, stayed with pets, things like that. And that's going to help you determine if there's a need for longer stays, if there's a need for pets, if there's a need for kid-friendly spaces, and then read those reviews and see what their experience was. What about that property made it good or bad for those guests to stay at? The reviews are going to give you a lot of insight as well. So we take all of this information, we know who's coming, we know why they're coming, we know what their pain points are going to be and how we are going to fix them for them before they even book our property. We know what the level of design is in the market, which amenities are most common in the market, where we have room to add to this property, maybe things that it didn't have before. For instance, a lot of properties in this market have pools and or hot tubs, or they're just really close to the beach. We aren't walking distance from the beach, so we did want to provide them some form or some type of body of water that they can, entertain in or have fun in, make some memories in, that kind of thing. So in this case, the backyard is a little bit smaller, so we decided we would use a hot tub. The property previously didn't have that. We are adding it now. And then all of the things that come with a hot tub. We're, using a cover lift to make it easier and more convenient for guests to remove the cover off of the hot tub. We're making sure that it's locked. We're putting up appropriate signage around that space. If they're spending more time in this backyard, what else do we need to do to elevate this backyard? In this case, we're changing out the furniture. We're, like I said earlier, we're adding that fence just to make it pet friendly. But when we add the fence, there's this long work surface table of sorts that was built in to the previous fence. We're going to rip that out. It's actually giving us almost 2 feet more space in that backyard. So now we can restructure the space plan a little bit, and we can fit in a large sofa love seat, so more seating around this fire pit that's already existing, a larger dining set to be able to accommodate more guests, and just really make this whole space a really cool backyard hangout. We're keeping the lights that are already above it. There's a shade sail as well out there that we're gonna hope to keep. And yeah, it's just gonna, everything that we learn dictates what we need to implement into the design. And then it helps us look at our budget and start to allocate where the majority of the budget is going to go. So we really want to focus on family friendly, pet friendly, and then this really cool backyard that's going to attract guests. And that is going to take us into that phase 2, which we will hit in another episode. But I'll walk you through how I designed what I designed, how I determined what stayed and what went, and just overall how we came to a conclusion. And, not every design hits every single time. Some property owners have preference over certain things. So sometimes we go back through and we do some edits. So we'll walk through a couple of the edits that we did on this project as well, why we did them, and just how we overcame a few solutions. And then lastly, our third episode of this series that we're going to do is going to be the installation. So we are currently in installation for this project. We have handymen and contractors there. We just had our hot tub installed this week. We had a lot of painting done. We added some woodwork up on the walls. We're having a mural installed. Lots of really fun things coming into this property. So I will get lots of good shots for you on that. And then we will share with you all of the ins and outs of the installation process, some of the hurdles that we're overcoming, because every project is going to have something. Nothing's going to go off without a hitch, right? You're going to have ups and downs. It's a roller coaster at the end of the day, but it's just about being prepared for whatever comes your way and then just knowing how you're going to get it fixed quickly so that it doesn't delay the project. So yes, we're really excited. This is going to be such a good one when it's all said and done. There was a lot of opportunity that our market research really showed us for this property. She had opportunity to really increase her prices if she was offering just a style that was more attractive to today's consumers, basically. The people that are coming to this area today that are willing to pay a little bit more. They do have a higher expectation in terms of the style and the design that they want to see. So we're going to give them just that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. In the show notes, you're going to find everywhere to contact me, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.